You're watching Blitz TV.
All right, so we are here in the Blitz studios, and they're not out on tour. They're just cruising by. They were at Rock on the Range back in May, but they were cruising through Columbus. Thought they'd stop by. The guys from Underoath,
Hello.
please make some noise. Good to see you guys.
I thought the Rock on the Range was like 2 weeks ago. That's how our schedule is right now.
We just normally just on our spare time we just cruise.
Yeah,
you know,
you do. You're just
we got in the
around.
car. We decided we'd stop by.
No,
Columbus.
it's been cool. We're on like a summer. We've been doing festivals, and we did Europe a couple weeks ago. We've been on like a summer like radio station run, which is really cool. Getting to meet the people that play the music and playing for them, acoustic, and something we've never done. So
meet the people.
In our 15 years career, we've never ever been on the radio. This is our first record that's ever been on the radio. So it's been really cool to like.
And we've never done acoustic performances.
Yeah, there's a lot of firsts right now.
And kids, our fans are either really pissed and they're like, "That's so dumb, acoustic's lame," or they're like, "Oh my god, can you record this? We want to hear it."
Yeah.
So we just sit in the middle and we don't do either. We're just like, yeah.
Those frugal fucks, whatever.
There was a kid yesterday, and we were playing for a station in Madison, and it was really cool. The event was live on the radio, and we were in an arcade, a vintage arcade. So they had like shit tons of really cool. We're not on the radio. I can say shit.
Yeah.
Can we? Can we?
Yeah, we can.
Shit.
Cuss your face off. It's all good.
So they had all these like vintage arcade games, and it was cool because he was like, "Are you guys going to make an acoustic record?" And I was like, "Oh." So with us, it's either massive shit talk, I hate Underoath's new music, they're losers, or it's like huge success. So we're living that dichotomy.
To be fair,
life.
I don't think it's just us. It's 2018, so you make a record, people feel entitled to talk about it. So you make a record, it sounds too similar to your old music. I hate this band, fuck this band, sounds like the last record, this sucks. You make a record, it's different, fuck this band, it's different, we hate this. So, and I don't think I just think that's where people are right now. The internet is a place for a lot of opinions.
Yes.
And everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I feel like a lot of it is just to get some attention or to get someone to respond to you or talk to you. It's just like the kids call it trolling, you know?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Spencer and Aaron from Underoath. Fuck.
That's so great.
Isn't that fun? Oh, by the way, this is Courtney Stone. She's our promotions director. She's also one of the heads on our local stuff team. And she's a ginormous fan of Underoath. So I thought it'd be pretty cool.
Even though we're not local, thank you.
No, absolutely.
She's a music freak, so I thought that would be pretty
good. I've
good.
been there with you guys since day one, so it's really cool to see
You just called me
guys
old in front of all these
progress
people.
like this. Oh, did not. Easy. Don't twist my words there.
I love it.
So let's kind of get into a little bit, you guys. Talk a little bit about the growing pains and all that as you were sort of coming through the years. And let's just put it out there simply. Just tell me kind of the Underoath story. From
How much time do you have? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right?
Plenty.
I
From
mean-
the beginning to the breakup to the new record, the tour, reunion, all that
We've
stuff.
Been talking about this a lot lately. Like,
a lot. Actually, on the radio, which is cool.
growing pains is like the best word used for it. Like you hit the nail on the head with that because it's like we're all fortunate enough to do this. Anyone in our position, and even you, I'm sure your dreams were radio. To be a part of the radio, it's really cool. And
Actually not, but okay. I'm kidding.
You get to do something that you love, and for a lot of us, like you, are constantly on the air. People are constantly listening to you. People are constantly looking at us, and there's interviews and stories and tours, and like that's beautiful. It's amazing, but the problem with all that is you're growing up in the public eye. That sounds like being cocky, but like depending on how big or small your public is, it's still public.
Yeah.
You could have 200 kids a night at your show. You're still growing up in front of people, and Underoath was no exception to the rule there. That like we went through, teen to 30, like teenagers to 30, and in front of everyone, and everyone got to comment and critique our personal lives and our public lives just constantly on the internet, and it's like, I think it does fuck with your head, and it does fuck with the band dynamic, and it's really, there's no one teaches you how to cope with that or go through it, and the band doesn't know how to go through it or talk about it. It's just weird, and we went through a lot of growing pains.
And we were lucky to have such success too. Me saying before that these are our first songs on the radio, which has been amazing, and not to sound, this sounds ridiculous, but just to be candid, we've had massive success.
Yeah.
And when you're 21 years old and you begin to have massive, you can't fucking deal with that. You don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
We all grew up on food stamps and poor.
You don't even know that it is success.
You don't even.
You're not like, oh, I'm rich and famous. You're just like, You don't even know. Like all of a sudden, people are looking at you, and then you've got money in your bank account. You don't know what you're doing. You don't feel cool, or it doesn't. I was talking to a guy last night on the airplane about it. I was like, it's not about the fame because that's the worst part. Like people looking at you, it's definitely not about the money. Because no matter how much you make or little you make, it's like it's so unsteady and unclear when the next paycheck's coming. Even if you make a lot, it's all taxed and you're stressed.
You're
and
always
if you don't
cash
make,
poor. Always.
If you don't
Yeah.
make a lot, you're still stressed. It's like it's all about doing it because you love it, which is another reason going back to this record Erase Me when kids ask about the record or why is it different or why is it this or explain to me why I love it so much or whatever their thing is with it. It's like we had our chance to make our first record again because we did break up. Like we got to go in the studio and go, fuck what everyone thinks about Underoath. Fuck all those old songs. We'll always play those songs. Those songs are not going anywhere. So what's going to make us happy?
Yeah.
You know, what do we want to hear? What are we missing when we get in the car? Like as far as we listen to everything, but as far as heavy rock goes, what do you want to hear when you put in the car and you push play? And we sat in that studio until we heard that. And a lot of people love it, and a lot of people hate it, and we don't give a fuck.
That is pretty badass right
It was
there.
a giant. Well,
happy.
the beauty is, and this is what worries me for the future, and I think we'll figure it out. But no one knew we were making this record. We did this massively successful tour that was supposed to be 3 weeks long, and then it ended up being 6 weeks long, and then it ended up going all over the world. And then halfway through that, we realized, oh shit, like we want to keep this going. We want to make a record. And the beauty of the whole thing was no one knew. So we were able to make, like he said, our first record. It was a secret.
Through the scrutiny of everything, like you said,
Yeah.
you know, you're together for all that time, you break up, then you just decide to do a little reunion tour that becomes a world tour, and now the new record. Now with that, the new name, is that kind of a reboot for you guys? Is that why you kind of came up with that name for the record?
You know, it's interesting that was a lyric, and we hired.
It is a lyric.
It is.
It's not a dead lyric. It's still there.
No, I said it was
It's
a lyric.
still there, Aaron.
Fuck you! I said it was a lyric. At the time, it's still a lyric. We're gonna shut up. But we hired a friend of ours that we've known for 20 years. He's from here. His name is Brandon, and he's like the designer behind 21 Pilots, and he just did the new Beartooth stuff. And he's an amazing designer. And we hired him to do the whole campaign. And they were the first people. Him and a friend of ours from Florida actually have a company together. And they were the first people to hear the record.
It came out before it was even mixed. They flew out to the studio.
And they sat on the couch and listened to the entire record. And he had written some things down. And it's funny because Spencer and I, we write all the lyrics and themes, and we normally name the records. And Brandon actually named the record.
That's cool.
He was listening
and wrote that phrase
as
down.
different phrases
Erase
came
me.
up. He would write them down, and then when that one came up, I remember he wrote it down. He was sitting at the front board. You know, we're all sitting behind. We're all listening together. He wrote it like as the words come out of my mouth on the song, which is a song we're going to play today, but that part's actually edited out a little bit. But on the record, when I say it, like 3 seconds later, he held up a piece of paper and it just said "Erase Me" in all capital letters. And
That's
he put
what
it down.
came to him.
Because it said it's in a song, and it's one of like the darker songs in the record where this whole record is just about the darkest time in our life, you know, like in how you're picking up the pieces to keep moving. And there's a part in the record where we say, "God, erase me," like because you just.
It's actually "And I Hate It," which is our newest single.
Yeah,
that we just shipped last week. Yeah,
it's like that all-time feeling of like you're just. You know, you just want a clean slate, or you don't want to be here anymore. It's like kind of dealing with the suicidal thought, and just like you don't feel good enough. And I feel like all humans get to that point. And when he heard it on the playback, he was like, "That's it," you know. And he held it up, and we looked at each other like, "Hell yeah!" I mean, we wrote the album title, but he just picked it out. We had an outsider listen to the record and go, "That's your title right there."
You get lost when you're making a record, and you spend. We have never. Underoath's always been a band that fought over 10 songs for a year. And then recorded 10 songs. We wrote close to 30 songs for this record. So we were so buried. You know, in terms of like, what is this supposed to be like? Like let's just write what we want. And we went through all these phases. The night before the rest of the guys got there, Spencer and I, Underoath is kind of cliquey. There's cliques of people in the band. So Spencer and I are always together. And we wrote a massive portion of this record before we got to the studio. And I remember the night before, and we've never talked about this, I had a thought. I was like, fuck it, let's just not make this record. We talked about it.
Oh,
like,
even...
We were like, let's just not do this. This is too painful. Like, the rest of the guys are going to edit all of our shit out. Like, this is going to be too painful. Let's fuck it. Let's just not do it. Literally the night before,
Yeah,
we were in DC where we made the record.
We were gonna
in
leave.
our apartment.
Wow.
We were gonna leave. So to have someone else come in and help us kind of curate was so needed because we were so fucked up. By the time we finished, like we spent all last summer making this record. By the time we finished, I mean, I haven't written a song since. I'm still
Same.
like,
Yeah, there won't be any writing for a little bit.
I'm still so burnt.
You just regurgitated everything that was in your
Yeah.
soul over that period of time. Now, what do you do with the spare songs? Will they ever see the light of day, or are those songs you're just going to forget it?
We
Maybe
took
parts.
Two of them came out already. There's 2 tracks. One's called Another Life, and another one's called Loneliness. And Target actually did like somehow
Exclusive.
I don't know how they did it. They didn't purchase it from us or anything, but they somehow got an exclusive. Probably because they went to the distributor. Like, we're Target, like. We sell face wash and fishing rods, and we're going to sell your fucking album if you give us these 2 songs. So, anyways, they have, and there's a bunch more. Some of them.
They become like recycled parts. Like sometimes you'll be like, oh, this part was really good. Like, let's relook at that.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of use, like, I know that some of the songs, like a bridge.
We've taken 2 of them and given them to other bands that wanted help. And I'm
Do you
sure
get credit for those?
Oh,
when
yeah.
they
if
end
that
up?
makes it. If they end up using it.
If they record it. Bands, we have to leave nameless. But
Have
yeah.
you ever had a dickhead in another band that you've let use your shit, and then they like reword it and rework it, and you're like, oh, really?
No,
Come on,
we've
that's my
been
band.
ripped off
We've
before.
we've had DJs and stuff sample things without giving us credit. They always
Wow.
get in trouble for that, though. Yeah, that's kind of the world we live in right now, right? Is everything's sampled, so
Yeah, for sure. Put a click track in there.
I just feel like I have this phobia that, like, you see lots of bands doing acoustic performances, and sometimes it's fantastic, right? And then sometimes it's so bad. Like, you'll hear one, and it's like, and that's no discredit to any band. It's just hard to do it to make it sound
yeah.
good. So
a lot of times you're singing in the morning, it sucks. Like,
So-
it's not natural.
So we've been trying
it's
to
early.
like add things like the drum and trying to make it because we said at the beginning of the interview, we haven't done this before, and we've literally been playing like 4 times a day. So trying to make it different, which is why we brought the drum in. And the funny thing is neither one of us play guitar in the band. So
I know that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, that's so
we
weird.
write a lot of it though.
No, it's not that we don't.
We write normally him on the drums, me on the guitar, and then we'll work on lyrics, and then we'll lay down bass and keys, and then we'll go to the band, and then they just do their thing all over it or change things or whatever. But it normally starts with me and Piglet over here.
So taking it. The reason why we have the drum and we've tried to like make it different. So I don't know if it's working or not. But
It sounds amazing.
Thanks.
And,
Cool.
you said that's like a first for you. Talk about some of the new firsts with this record, with, Erase Me.
there's so many.
Yeah.
The radio
so-
being the biggest one, but also like
our band worked together, which is
Yeah,
weird. Like,
yeah.
like we were telling the story earlier about how the night before. I mean, I there was a point I was like, "Fuck this," because there's guys in the band that we've our band broke up. Like, there's always been the butting of heads, and I feel like that could be a power struggle. That could be a million different things, but it's just becoming accepting as men that we're not all the same. Cut from a different cloth, or just someone that you wouldn't necessarily hang out with all the time. It doesn't mean I don't love the guy in the band still, or this guy in the band still, or whatever. It's just like, dude, we're just fucking different. And we don't get along with most things, but we're still friends and family. It's like a brother, a sibling. It's like, I love you, dude, but like, we're just,
You just stepped on my last fucking nerve.
It's like,
Yeah.
But we were telling that story earlier. We were just like, fuck this. We were going to go let's just go make a record ourselves and call it whatever. Like, I don't need permission from these guys. We don't need permission to do what we love. Because at one point they were like, oh, we can't write. We're not going to write a record. We don't know yet. We don't know. It was like, fuck that. We're going to start writing. It's what we love to do. And if you guys don't want to do it, we'll make a new band and call it something else. And that's where a lot of this started. But when we got to the actual studio and started to work, it was beautiful. It was like the 4 people that work on the records, which is me, myself, Aaron, Tim, and Chris. We got in there, we worked like a team, and everyone heard each other out. It was really respectful, and everyone was like jamming on stuff, even stuff that they weren't as pumped on. Like, the guys I hate it, but me and Aaron loved it. So we sat there until everyone was happy with it.
It's a great song.
And like,
it wasn't going to be it was one of the last ones to be recorded. And actually, it was funny yesterday. Another one of our people from Concord, we were in the Midwest yesterday, and they were doing. So you have different reps, and she asked to hear the demo for "I Hate It," and it's funny because how far it came. And it's still a great song in the demo, not tooting our own horn, but it's still a great song. And it's just cool to see that the guys jumped on it, even though at the beginning, you know, when they heard the demo, they were like, fuck this, we don't like this song. And now it's our new single. So it's just cool to see, like...
Yeah, like we got in there and Underoath is like functioning and happy, which never, I don't know if that even happened on Chasing Safety. I think that our first record, we were kids and everyone was like, me. Let's see where I can get me in here, you know? And then To Find the Great Line was just like weirdly strange for everybody. And then Lost the Sound, it was just like everyone hated each other. Yeah. Everyone hated each other. And then it got worse and worse from there. You know what I mean? Like your box keeps getting smaller and your guards get up, and the more you're just like, no, fuck that guy. No, I don't. It's my, like it is your way necessarily what's best for the song, or is it just because you want your fucking way because you're too proud to be like not considered cool to your peers? Like I got to be Mr. Art, or I got to be Mr. Cool, or I got to be Mr. Pop, or I got to be Mr. Success. Yeah. Whatever it is you're battling with, which everyone in our band at one point did. And this time, the first thing with the Race Mule was we worked together and made something that we're all proud of. And I just never thought that was coming. And that's what gives me hope for Underoath in the future. And when we made this record, me and Aaron had talked about, like, let's make it like it's our last. Because we don't know if we'll make it through this. And there was times where, you know, all the way up until getting in the studio, it was like, there's no way I'm going to make it. There's no way. Which, just
like Aaron said, you know, the night before, while you guys are in Washington, he's like, let's not do this.
Exactly. I mean,
you get to that edge.
We went to dinner and had that conversation. Like,
I don't remember what was it that he said that it was just like, fuck this, fuck that guy, I'm out. I remember that. I don't
remember what the verbiage was.
I don't remember either, but I remember feeling that way.
Yeah, as far as first go, though, like he said, you know, working together, obviously the radio, and the beautiful thing about about us being on the radio now and having some successes at radio has been, I feel like now, especially 2018 and for the last few years, bands write a product to get on the radio. And that's not throwing anyone under the bus, but we didn't do that, which was beautiful. We were able to make this record, like we said, in secret. And it works at radio, because none of our other stuff has ever worked at radio. And we stand behind everything we've ever done, but it's really interesting that we were able to be on the radio by doing music that we wanted to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We didn't think even a thought about it. It's like, you know, people ask, like he was saying, like, oh, did you guys sold out or whatever? It's like, think about who you were 8 years ago, right? When we made our last record, and we broke up. We've all gone through a lot. We've all learned different stuff. We've all worked differently in music. You know, like our keyboard player was doing soundtrack stuff. Aaron was doing solo stuff. I was doing solo stuff. We both worked with tons of different people, musicians and producers. And, you know, Tim was doing his thing. Like, we've all learned so much. Why will we go back and take away all the stuff we've learned over 8 years? Like, it's like being a man. Like, I've grown so much in 8 years and become a better person. Why would I go back to be a lesser version of myself, like, just to fit in?
Makes
so
total sense.
I'm going to keep going in this direction, and you're going to think the same thing with songwriting. As an artist, you know, Underoath, unfortunately, is more an artist than a business, like, which gets we step on our own feet in that way, because it's all about the music to us in a lot of ways. That could be, you know, when you look at a record label or radio, like, that could be your downfall. But, like, we've always been about the art first, and this is just us being like, this is where we are now. This is what we want to hear. This is what we want to play. We're not going to go back in time and go revert ourselves to our past. Like,
and that's okay that you do that, you know?
Yeah.
That's totally okay. So throughout that hiatus, then, it was growth and a beneficial thing, because, you know, that helped you get to where you are now. I feel like
it was a dark time, but it was those necessary steps to take to get to where we are now. Yeah. I don't think I would ever want to live through that again, and I didn't want the band to break up with. I was the last man standing. I was, like, dragging them through the mud, like, let's do this. And then no one wanting to be on that stage with me when I was up there is, like, heartbreaking. And I was angry, and I was sad, and I was confused, identity crisis, and drug addiction, and alcohol, just, like, everything that you could imagine that had built up over that whole span of being in a band. And I think, yeah, that's a process of growing and learning to make us who we are now. But I think that was a really hard road that I wouldn't want to go down again. But was it necessary? 100%. Like, did Underoath have to break up to exist? Yes. Was it part of the plan? Absolutely not. We walked off that stage, we're like, fuck you. I don't ever want to play music with you again. Go have fun. I don't give a shit. There was a couple people who was like, I'm not going to talk to you again. And I don't think we talked until like we started rehearsing for the Rebirth tour.
I didn't talk to one guy in particular for 7 years.
Wow.
It was crazy. Yeah. And I think for us, I look at it like surgery. Like imagine you have a tumor and two things are going to happen. You're going to have it excised and cut out, or you're going to die. And I think with Underoath, that is we just had to cut out the tumor, and that was it was painful, like he said.
It was all of us,
and it was
all
of us.
We keep talking about, like we both have problems with our guitar player at different times, like because he's a very strong head, he's very talented, he's very creative, and so are we, and we're all strong personalities, but we're different, and we've had a lot of problems with each other. But like, that's not saying he's the tumor or Aaron's the tumor or I'm the tumor. It's like the whole band. I mean,
it's even
the guys that sit there and don't do a whole lot or they stay quiet to themselves, fucking just as bad as the rest of us. It's like the whole thing was just fucked, and everyone's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're not a Christian band anymore." It's like, dude, could you imagine putting more guidelines on a group of men that can barely hold it together and stay alive? Like, I almost fucking died during the whole process because we were all escaping and doing different things to cope with each other and the pressure and everything that's going on and all the ridicule and constant, people are awful online, you're like going through stuff and people are like, you should fucking kill yourself. You read that shit, it's like, and I don't think it's about not having tough skin. I just think eventually those things catch up with all of us. I mean, look at so many people in our position that aren't here anymore. It's like, dude, everything people say could be the straw that broke the camel's back, which people don't understand. Like, you hide behind a screen and say everything you want, but you don't ever know when you're the guy that broke the dude that's dead now.
It's hard to get that scrutiny out of your head. I mean, once you've read it, you've already seen it. It's like you can't unsee that. And you take it personally because you give a shit.
Yeah.
You care about what you're doing.
We switched bullying from being something that's in person. This sounds so dumb, but it's true. We switched it from being something that's in person to it being online.
Yeah, that's true.
We grew up in schools. We got beat up. We got picked on because we looked different. We acted different. We weren't on the football team. We weren't these big buff dudes with beards in high school. We were like these little scrawny kids with skateboards getting our asses kicked. We got bullied. Do I think it sucks? Yeah, but I don't know. It made us who we are. But now everyone in school, there's no bullying allowed. Everything's accepted. That's beautiful, but it just is all online now.
It's all online.
So we went through the bullying at school to now we just get it online. It's like we just had it our whole lives, so we're kind of used to it. But yeah. I don't know where that conversation came from, but
that's okay, because this is organic as shit, and that's what I like about that.
Yeah.
And we're glad you're here again. Underoath, not really on any kind of tour, just stopping by. Aaron and Spencer, thank you so much.
We got in the car today, and we said, "Yo, let's go to Columbus."
We're going to go visit Ronni and Court, and we're just going to hang out, play some music, and eat some shitty airport food in Wisconsin the night before.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, the record and how you create your set list. And do you start off with like a new song or an old song, or do you vary it up?
We have been starting with a new song.
I think it's important to start with a new song. I feel like if you don't feel like you're putting your best foot forward, kids are always going to love your old shit. Unless they're new fans, they're always going to prefer that 9 times out of 10 because that's when they connected. You fall in love with a band, like no matter if it's Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, both bands were still playing, or Metallica, or a new band like us or Dance Gavin Dance who are taking on tour at the end of the year. People connect at different times, and if it's your new record or they connected with you 5 years ago, like that's awesome. But we're gonna always believe in our hearts that our new record is our best. Otherwise, we wouldn't have put it out. So we're gonna get up there and we're gonna start with a new song, and then we're gonna follow with the song that we know our old fans will like, and we just try
mix
to
it up.
Mix it up.
If you went and saw the Stones and Jagger didn't play Satisfaction, you'd fucking burn the place to the ground.
Yeah, that's the truth.
You know what I mean? So you gotta do both. You gotta do both. There's nothing worse than that self-aggrandizing band that will only play their new songs.
Exactly.
There's nothing worse than that.
As a fan of music in general and live shows, I love to hear a combination of everything that that artist that I love has done.
That's what we try to do.
I love that.
We
That's
try to
my
make
favorite.
it flow in the right way. You know what I mean? It's like, to us, it's all about where it starts and where it finishes. Where's the middle, and how are we going to bridge all this, and how are we going to get... We know what songs we have to play. You basically look at your catalog like, well, every song we've had a music video for. Those are your most popular songs. Yeah. How are we going to mix those in with some cool, deep tracks that are maybe more experimental to give the set a different vibe? How's that going to work with production? Like, how are we going to keep everyone interested for an hour and a half and not feel like, ugh, I've heard enough Underoath, I'm ready to go. Like, you want to leave with people going like, fuck yeah, that was awesome. Like, I can't wait to go back. So it's we spend a lot of time on our set list, and we spend a lot of time on our album as well, as far as not just working out, but the flow of the album. Like, we're a band that believes that, like, it's got to be an album. Like, we grew up on albums. I know that's a dead format. Everyone says it's all about the single or put your best song, your
That's
biggest
bullshit.
song first. Like,
I don't really care about that.
We don't
Me
either.
neither.
We want the album to flow in a certain way. And if you go back now after this conversation, you listen to all the Underoath records, you'll see what I mean. That is, they all have a flow to them. Like in it, like even Erase Me all the way down to Chasing Safety.
Well, that's
we
the
put them in
beautiful
an
thing.
order for a reason.
That's the beautiful thing about about modern consumption of music is you can go to Spotify or Apple Music or radio charts or wherever you want to go, and you can read and see what people like the most off your catalog. So that's a great way to make a set list too, and obviously
Sure.
throwing some weird shit in the middle to make it interesting. But you can go look now. You know, you can go look and see what do people listen to.
If you each could pick one cover song that you think Underoath should do, what would each of your choices be?
We've been doing Heart-Shaped Box.
Yeah, we've been doing Heart-Shaped Box.
You're a big Nirvana fan, I am.
Huge.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
You
I mean,
are also?
Yeah.
Look
oh,
at my
yeah.
hair, you know.
Oh, right. Hey, Kurt. No, I'm kidding. That was wrong. I kid. And what would, if you could pick something other than a Nirvana tune or other than that song, what would it be?
I don't know. I don't know. See, the problem with Underoath is that like it'll never happen because
Aw.
the stuff that
Damn.
the stuff that we listen to, the clicks are all different. Like me and him grew up on Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Pink Floyd from our parents, and then went into Nirvana and Chains and Soundgarden and all that.
Right.
And then the other guy, there's some other guys in the band that are like, Nirvana sucks. Like, I've never listened to the Beatles. That's stupid. Like, you know, so it'll never happen because the things that we like, they hate, and vice versa. That's what makes Underoath music so interesting is because there's all these, the creative forces are on different sides of the fence. And we're all like a family, so we make it work. But we can never get on the same page because the things that we love, they think is stupid. And vice versa sometimes.
Courtney, note to self, next promotion with Underoath, we get you, me, and a winner and their guest to ride on the Underoath bus for one day to see this dynamic of crazy, because I like it a lot.
You wouldn't feel it. It's like
Yeah, it's so happy and fun. Like
you wouldn't
fine.
feel it. You've got to be there for like a year to feel it.
Really?
Yeah, and
Okay,
you got to be
note
there.
to
Like,
self, we're
it's-
going to make that a year-long
Year-long?
promotion.
It's
You gotta
deep-seated and underhanded.
it's deep seated, underhanded, and you got to like
Be paying
3
attention. You're like,
weeks-
oh, wait, that guy was saying something to fuck my head up. Nah, he's not being nice.
So you guys got to be on your fucking toes all the
No,
time.
it's not like that. We have a great
Be insane.
we have a great time. But say you're 3 weeks into like a 6-week European run, you're gonna see some shit. But that's when you see it. If you're on tour with us in America, like everyone is having a time of their lives. But if we're far away from home and you've been gone for 6 weeks, some shit will get said, and you'll be like, Did he just fuck me over?
Fuck that guy.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Like that's how it works now, you know. So
As you mentioned, you guys have been doing some shows with the new music. You were at Rock on the Range in May. You're headed over to Bangor, Maine, I think, this weekend, and then Montreal.
I don't know.
We don't know anything.
No, I literally didn't know where we were when we woke up this morning. I'm not joking.
That sounds like Howard, your rep, because he's like, I had lunch in Dallas, I had breakfast in Dallas.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
damn.
how we're living these days.
Well, you guys are up there, and then you're Montreal, and then I was going to tell you you're swinging back around for Louder Than Life, which we'll see you there.
Where's that one at?
That is in Louisville, Kentucky, Champions Park, and that's one of the coolest things. It's also kind of a runoff of Rock on the Range. Same people put that together.
Oh, it's a Wimmer Fest.
That's a Wimmer.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a Wimmer Fest.
We did all those this year except for one because we were overseas. So
Which you've never been invited to any of those before.
that's a first.
Which is
We've
incredible.
never been invited to any
you know?
Wimmer Festival, so we did them all
No
this year except for
shit.
Northern Invasion. That's the
Yeah.
only one we didn't do.
Oh, that's right.
We've been talking
Yeah.
about that a lot lately, like the change in music, like
Yeah.
you see Warped Tour dying and everyone's sad about it, but you also see bands like Underoath and Thrice and Beartooth and Bring Me the Horizon and all these Dance Gavin Dance even like on these
The
Wimmer
Fever.
festivals that you sharing the stage with Five Finger Death Punch and Alice in Chains and all these bands that like there used to be like a place for active rock, and then there was the bands in the middle like us that had no home, and then there was Warped Tour, which was more pop punk.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing like it's like a place for rock now. I think that Danny Wimmer has got a great thing going that I think if it keeps growing and we keep accepting like, dude, everyone says rock is dying. The radio format's dying. It's like it keeps getting smaller. It's like, yes, that's because we keep playing songs from 30 years ago. Like, should we just make that classic rock and start involving all these bands that are rock now and doing things now and look for the future of, like, this is the future of rock, and we can still play with bands like Alice in Chains that we love. I mean, that's one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yep.
But we need to be like, let's involve these bands that are doing great things in the radio world and with these festivals and continue it to grow so rock doesn't just get smaller every year. And I think Wimmer is someone that's on top of that, and I think it's beautiful.
And with that in mind, like talk a little bit about the ending of the Warped Tour and how that helped Underoath
We
so
just
much.
We just did 3 dates on the final tour. We weren't able to do the whole thing due to some radius clauses. We're doing a big fall tour we just announced last week. But that tour for a long time was what we were just talking about. You know, Eminem was on that tour. Katy Perry was on that tour.
Yeah.
We would play after Yellow Card. You know what I mean? It was like and then it all sort of became samey, and that wasn't Kevin's fault. That was just the industry he was in, and it was a place in the beginning for all guitar music to live.
I think it just got younger and younger.
It just got younger and younger, and those people stopped coming. And what happened was,
with those young kids,
financially, it just didn't wash out.
I think in the young kids, like it's great to have young listeners, but I think Warped Tour, a lot of the bands that were popular and they were putting on stages were catered to younger and younger and younger kids every year. Kids that aren't going to shows, but their parents will take them to Warped Tour or allow them to go to Warped Tour.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of started to drop the attendance because older people didn't want to go and see a band that caters to 11-year-old girls when they're like, oh, I used to go and see, you know, bands like The Used and Thrice and you know, there's still bands like that are relevant, like Crown the Empire and there's some cool bands like The Maine and all those bands on Warped Tour that are still cool and doing great things. But for a while there, it kind of just really catered towards super young people, and I think that's maybe what killed it because the attendance wasn't doing well. And now this year, we just did a couple of the last ones, and the lineup is great, and it's very diverse, and every show is sold out. And,
Huge.
You know, maybe that's a little bit of people are like, oh, it's never going to happen again. I got to go now. You always want what you can't have, you know, and that's the sad thing. But I think, it's a thing that we just have to let go, and maybe it will come back later.
Well, it passes
in life,
the ball to you guys. That's what I like about it. Is now active rock, you are the only format that plays music with guitars.
Yeah,
because alternative now is banjos and hand claps and more top 40.
Yep.
And that's what it is.
Agreed.
And I think
that's okay. I like a lot of that music. I like top 40 music. I like country music. I like hip hop. But you guys are the only format left with guitars.
And it's in your hands, and like. It's cool to see that we get invited to do these things. And it's like we're not saying we're the saviors of cool or not, but like a band like us and Bring Me the Horizon and Beartooth wouldn't be allowed on the radio 5 years ago.
We just had Beartooth on with our morning show on Monday. They're our Columbus band, and their new song is badass. Disease. Have you heard it?
We're good friends with it. Like we
I heard Disease in March.
Yeah, they came.
You did?
A year ago in March.
I gotta hang out with you more often.
That's the first song that Caleb actually wrote for their record. So I heard it.
Badass.
We were all three of us, Bring Me the Horizon, and they were on tour together last year, and I heard that song then.
But
I'm so jealous, Aaron.
What we're saying about it is like, if the radio keeps making progressive steps, I think the future is bright for a lot of rock music to be the leader again. You know, like because right now, let's be honest, it's hip hop. You know, and hip hop is like. Mainstream is it gets, and it's everyone. I mean, it's like soccer moms to 11-year-old girls to dudes our age. Like everyone in every band. Like you go on any bus, it's all hip hop.
If it's
you go to
any
a party, it's
consultation.
all hip hop. You go to a bar, it's all hip hop. And I'm not bashing it, but there's like I think that the active rock got so narrow that it's only Shinedown and Five Finger Death Punch and old music. And Chevelle, and I'm not bashing those bands. Those bands have their place. Like Shinedown, we just played with them and watched them. I was like, wow. I'm not personally a fan of listening. You know, that's not my thing. But I went and watched. I was like, this band's incredible. They are the best at what they do. They deserve everything they have. Shinedown was amazing live. But when the radio is only playing bands that sound just like that, it's a really narrow road, and you're cutting out a lot of listeners. when you throw in things like a Bring Me the Horizon song and an Underoath song and a Beartooth song and then a thrice like Black Honey and then you've got, Five Finger and then you've got Metallic, it's like it's going to grow.
Thrice is new and the gray is badass.
Thrice
I love
everything,
that
though.
Dude, we saw.
I cried at Thrice recently.
This is a good example. Great example of what's happening in rock music is we were at a station yesterday, and I can't remember the call letters, and I feel like an ass, but we were in Madison, Wisconsin, and we were playing at. I think I mentioned this earlier in the interview. We were playing at a vintage arcade, and there was about 50 to 60 fans there that had won tickets to see us play acoustic, and the DJ came up to us and to our rep, and he goes, I have never seen a single one of these people. And we have all of the same people come to every contest. And he goes, I have never. Now, he goes, not like 2 or 3. I've never seen a single person. And that's the thing, that if we can all rally together and say, yes, Five Finger Death Punch will always be number 1. They'll always be here. But if we can rally behind each other and go, we got to get Thrice on the radio. We got to get Beartooth on the radio. We got to circle this in. The stations and the format is going to see kids from Warped Tour and from the middle, from our part of the world, go, oh.
Radio's cool again.
I'll come see Seether because guess who's opening for Seether? Underoath.
Well,
you know what I mean?
If it's any consultation, we're 26 years and counting, and that's what we do. All of that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
For sure.
Good for you guys.
And that's been kind of the whole core. We've decided that we're going to be a progressive station. The music that's coming out new is great.
Yeah.
We're going to play those Alice in Chains and Seethers and Five Fingers.
Well, we heard it on the way here.
When we get a new, Underoath tune or a new Thrice song or Beartooth or any of that, we've got to play that stuff.
We heard you guys promoting shows on the way over here today, and I told Howard I was so impressed. You guys were promoting like a Veil of Mile is never going to be on the radio.
Between the Buried and Me.
Those bands are never going to be on the radio, ever. Because that music is mad.
But
it's crazy.
But you're promoting the shows.
Right, for sure.
And here's the question that I have for like other radio stations. Like, what's the point in ignoring it? If Between the Buried and Me, who, whether you like them or your listeners like them or not, they're an incredible band that's been doing this for a long time, why wouldn't you mention their show coming through? Because there might be a listener that checks it out, or there might be a listener that actually likes it and goes, oh, shit, they are coming through, or, oh, I could win tickets. It's like, why in rock and roll are we ignoring some of the sub-genres of rock and roll when hip-hop and pop embraced it all? And that's why they're number 1. And it's not a competition, but it's just like, I hate to see the format get smaller every year. Like I want to see it grow, not just because I'm a rock fan and a rock listener, but I'm just like, why? I mean, there's so many great bands and music out there. It doesn't mean that you have to play the new 9-minute Between the Buried and Me song full of shredding and screaming, but like, why ignore that it's there and it's coming to town? And I thought that was cool this morning on the way here because they were like Between the Buried and Me and Veil of Maya, who we just brought out Veil of Maya on the last tour.
We took them on tour. They don't fit our format.
But it doesn't matter.
Well, it's
good.
like the 90s.
And that's the whole thing.
Our rep was telling us yesterday about Skid Row taking out Alice in Chains. Stone Temple Pilots. Yeah, that's how it worked.
Back in the day.
And that's why rock was king. Because like hip-hop, you'll see Tyler, the Creator, on tour with Kanye.
But think about that in the 90s, it's like the reason why Nirvana and Alice in Chains and all those bands were still playing today, Stone Temple Pilots, are so big is because that was new and they were playing it. And now there's all these new great songs and great bands no one's playing because they're still playing all those. I'm not saying those have to go away, but it's like, dude, a Red Hot Chili Peppers song from 30 years ago, that's cool, but like I've heard it my whole life.
Yeah,
I'd much rather tune in and be like, oh, this happened to me the other day. I love, I have Octane in my car as well. I love Jose. He's a good friend of mine, and he always plays really cool shit. And me and my girlfriend were on the way to the gym, and we put it on. We just turned on Octane to just check to see a lot of times because a lot of times I'll play my friends, and like this song came on, and she was like, oh, I heard this on a TV show, and I looked at it, I was like, what is this? And it was a band called Grandson.
God!
And then I got in the gym and I turned it on, and he had done a song with Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park, and Linkin Park's one of my all-time favorite bands. And I was like, "Fuck!" And I'm in there working out. I'm like, "This is awesome." But the first thing I did, I text our manager because of the radio. Think about this. I text our manager and go, "Hey man, what about that band Grandson for our tour?" And he goes, "Oh my God, I was thinking the same thing. We had this conversation yesterday." He reached out. Unfortunately, he was unavailable. He was already doing something else. But he doesn't even know. He'll probably never know that Underoath heard his song on Octane, went to the gym, listened to everything he had, and texted our manager to go, let's bring that band on tour. And that's dude, and I'm in the industry, and I still learn stuff. Like, And that's what I love. That's what I want from radio, because I can pull up Spotify and then Apple Music and listen to whatever I want, but I'm not hearing anything new unless it's a band that I've already listened to that put something out. So the radio for me has always been like, where do you discover new bands? But when they're not playing new bands, unfortunately, I'm telling you the truth that I'm not going to listen a whole lot. You know, I'm just kind of like.
Grandson was at Rock on the Range.
Were they?
Yeah.
Shit, probably not.
Yeah.
We would have watched them that on the day we were.
Yeah, I don't know what day they were on versus you guys. I can't remember the schedule because there's been 10 shows since then. But definitely they were there. And that dude's badass. He's like from Canada or something. His name's like Jared or Jerome or something like that.
I didn't know that. Canada, man.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that?
I said Canada.
Canada. But anyway, that whole idea with what you're talking about with new music and everything, you know, we agree with that. I mean, that's why why you guys are here. And I know I remember like when I was growing up, it was like all I heard on the air was Led Zeppelin and Stairway to Heaven, and no disrespect because I love Led Zeppelin, but
Me too.
I want to hear new music. And I think that's why there are different stations that are for different genres. So, you know, if I want to dip into like some old classic rock, I'll listen to another station.
Of course.
But if I want to hear new stuff, I know where to go. I know where to get it.
And that's why I think it's like, man, if we could just get to the point where it's like, you know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers song from 30 years ago, maybe should go to classic rock, because that's classic. If a car is considered, and I know in the state of Florida, you can get an antique tag if your car is older than 20 years. So why aren't we playing songs that are that older than that on classic rock and keep adding to those stations? And like, if Red Hot Chili Peppers releases a new song, cool, maybe take it to active rock. Is it active rock, or maybe it needs to go to alternative rock? Who knows? But like, if it's not new within the last 5 years, like, do we really need to keep spinning it on the only station that will play new music? And I just remember growing up and hearing the new music first on whatever, you know, like that was always like the saying. It's like, but it hasn't really been that way too much as of at least the last 5 years. It's starting to get better now, but I hope that continues to change and grow, because it also gives every band, every time they release a new album and a new song, like, play the new Foo Fighters song. But Everlong could probably go on classic rock. And that's one of my favorite bands. I have it tattooed on the back of my neck. You know, Nirvana was my favorite band of all time. Of course, I'm a huge Foo Fighters fan. But I want to tune in and they play Sky's Neighborhood, and my mind goes, wow, what incredible. And that song was incredible. It blew my face off.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to hear when I'm tuning into the rock station, not necessarily Monkey Wrench, which is one of my favorite songs, but that could probably be on a different station. And I would know where to go when I want to hear that stuff.
Can we have a job?
Yeah. You guys want to hire us?